I'm back where I left off in Bloodborne to do a part 2 to my occult and esoteric analysis. Because I'm having to play this on PlayStation, I just have to quickly make sure it is live and working correctly. But thank you to all the people that joined during my last stream with Bloodborne. I highly appreciate it. This is something I have wanted to do for a very long time, and I didn't expect the kind of response I got from it, so yeah, I just need to quickly edit hello, thank you. I'm just having to very quickly sort out a technical element. Okay, so anybody who watched part 1 will know that this game, made by FromSoftware, a very famous Japanese video game company under the fascist dictatorship of Hidetaka Miyazaki, a genius whom created the Demon Souls and then Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, very, very famous games.
This isn't on PC yet, right?
No. Bloodborne is purely on a PlayStation exclusive from 2015. It will never be released because, yeah, I'm playing it on a PS5. You can play it on a PS4. Anyway, the significance of this game, people have done amazing lore analyses of the story which have gone through. However, nobody has, to my knowledge, looked at it in a more esoteric light. As this was published in 2015, and it's set in a nightmare version of Prague, in the Czech Republic, essentially in the 1800s, during a pandemic, an epidemic of a blood-borne, hence the name, a virus that is turning men into beasts. However, what I find interesting is, as life imitates art, I'm not going into the pandemic and COVID-19 any political light. This is purely the strange prophetic nature of this game. This entire lockdown, everybody is in a lockdown. The only people that are allowed out are hunters to go and kill the beasts, essentially. And what you'll find soon is everything regarding this massive lockdown and dystopian nightmare that has happened to the society. The church, the academia, and also intelligence agencies and esoteric orders that have breached from the church and this academic institutions associated have all manufactured this, and it has kind of gone out of control, which is interesting given the academic, the essentially international state system doing the same thing in the real world. And there's a bait and switch in this game. It's a very Lovecraftian game with the aesthetics of Eastern Europe and Bram Stoker's Dracula as a kind of front for the more cosmic and Lovecraftian elements that come in, that are done beautifully. There's an event at the moment that happens once a year, Return to Yharnam, where people come back to this game because it's had such a profound impact on people. And yeah, as I quote from my last video, my last stream, essentially you're thrust into a situation where you have no idea what's going on, and like in real life there are multiple different sources of information and input that all contradict each other, that you have to navigate these systems. And most people are thrust into this world and have no idea how to navigate it. And those that do, usually on a superficial level, this is all Hidetaka Miyazaki using influences from mostly French existentialism and also Nietzsche nihilism to create another world in which you're forced to be thrust into, like the real one, which you must navigate, and you can go through and have no idea what's going on and connect nothing, or you can see how everything operates. But even then, it goes beyond that, beyond the lore of this game, beyond... It's an act of magic. It's literally almost training you to think in what's called when you are forced to do intelligence tests, especially regarding the defense forces, you are in IQ testing. There's a specific form of thinking called abstract thinking that is essentially these games created by Hidetaka Miyazaki are...
Nietzsche and Lovecraft made this game. Video game.
Thank you, Konata from Lucky Star, which I watched years ago. The influences of Nietzsche and of French existentialism, mostly through Hidetaka Miyazaki's love of the manga Berserk, which is where a lot of the church-related intrigue and espionage elements come in, and H.P. Lovecraft influences. It all just comes together beautifully, but people don't talk about the actual impact playing these games has on people's way of thinking. It actually forces you through not non-linear, but through abstract experimental storytelling, where you have very little dialogue. The entire story is pretty much told in item descriptions and symbolism. The lunar symbolism is everywhere because the entire game is set over one night, where there are 3 lunar phases within that night as everything gets more Lovecraftian and more cosmic horror based. The pebble being a hermetic microcosm, as above so below, form of the moon and the lunar influences, and then the outer gods. And you utilize, if you have enough, and people interested in the
Dark Souls 1, face blue smiling, Face blue smiling.
Oh
Face
no, I'm
blue
gonna get a lot of
smiling.
this, aren't I? You're gonna get a lot of...
Dark Souls 2, ice purple crying, ice purple crying, ice purple crying, face turquoise covering eyes.
Oh shit, yeah, I gotta turn that off probably. You're gonna exploit the fuck out of that, aren't you, kind of die? Anyway. This game, the more insight you have, and people of certain sinister traditions might find this interesting. People of certain sevenfold ways. Essentially, if you get a certain level of insight earlier in the game, you can see things that are not in the first lunar phase, that are usually not visible until the third. But it's also insanity. Madman's knowledge. Anyway, speaking of sinister, I can use this to kill other players. But what I find interesting is the strange timing for everybody returning to this game, and how it just has had such an impact on people. I used it essentially to come off a horrendous
Your character
tapering.
looks like Raven.
My character is based on the plain doll. I found some autistic person on YouTube in Japan who happened to try and spend hours recreating it, so yeah. It's close enough. Anyway, people come back and play it on Halloween too, but for a game that has literally on a dead console from years ago, and
Will you what I'm autist?
no, I found somebody with
Asterisk.
autism
Come
to
home, good
essentially
hunter.
steal their
What is
character.
it you desire? Ah, the little they find hunters speak.
And
Very
she's
well,
essentially a elder god in a Lovecraftian sense, but also she's a Babylon type figure that, depending on what ending, can rebirth you into a outer god of sorts. She is also a sex doll for the incel that happens to abide in the hunter's dream, German. When I get a device, you can zoom in on the book.
Do you practice cum magic?
Sex magic, yes I do. Literally. It works. But there's a book here, there it is, how to get or find how to court fair maidens or something. When you get an item that you can actually zoom in on it, I will. It's quite funny. German. And yeah, the doll is based on a real character within the game, Maria, whom also is a weird... German's a weird incel autist craftsman, essentially, and he made his doll, his sex doll, come to life. The dream of everyone who owns a Dakamakara. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Time to kill a religious fanatic.
Crossbreed Priscilla is so breedable. Face blue heart eyes.
Ah, yes. Dark Souls 1. All the neo-Nazis in my audience.
Yes, I see. But the Great Bridge is the only way to the Cathedral Ward.
Psst.
And during the hunt, the bridge is closed. You could try the aqueduct. There's a rather, how shall I put it, colourful area south of the Great Bridge. From there, an aqueduct leads to the Cathedral Ward. Not a place you'd normally want to visit, but I don't imagine you have much of a choice, do you?
So most of
British people, face orange frowning.
the majority of my audience is
An
British,
aqueduct
Kanata.
leads from the town south of the main bridge to the cathedral.
Involved
Face
in
orange
extremist
frowning.
organizations.
Face orange frowning. Face orange frowning. Face orange frowning.
Oh
Face
my
orange
god.
frowning. Face or. Face orange frowning. Face orange frowning.
Bye, Kanata.
Face orange frowning. Face orange frowning. Face orange frowning. Face orange frowning. Face or.
I'll be right back. I'm going to turn off the feature. Sadly, Kanata is making it
In my
not.
Discord, I have a gay furry who tried to join the KKK.
Really? It's interesting. The majority of.
Face orange frowning.
Oh, for fuck's
Face
sake.
orange
I'll be right back.
Face
I
orange
need
frowning.
to turn
Face
Texas.
orange.
Okay, now people can't do that. You ruined it, Kanata. You keep fucking things up. Okay, so essentially we need to go to the church, which is run by an intelligence organization that's also... Thank you. I'm sure you're a 17-year-old Japanese schoolgirl. I need to get used to autistic people that are not gay, neo-Nazi autistic people, which is what I'm used to dealing with. Divination, that's what this game is. It divined through... See, before I was involved in the various different alleged involvement, I should say, of certain organizations, I was a chaos magician. In chaos magic, there is a idea, and a lot of this is in things like The Simpsons. People go on about the strange prophetic nature of The Simpsons predicting everything in the future. And no, it's just chaos magic. People essentially, like how everybody is returning to play this game at a certain time of year, I did not know when I started this stream and playing this again. I only found that out today. There's something that is bringing us all back at this time, even though this is the game that you'd usually play on, like, you know, Halloween, I guess, in an American context. So what's interesting is, like with The Simpsons essentially predicting 9/11, this game has predicted a global, well, essentially a medical lockdown. Because people, you start the game wearing traveler's attire from a foreign land and you've had a blood transfusion. People have come to this city essentially to get medical treatment from a church which is actually run by it's a multi-hierarchical organization run by oh yeah, it's chaos magic. There's people can put labels on this phenomena and why people will intuitively phone call each other at the same time and go, oh, I was just thinking of you. I subscribe to the idea that who gives a shit what the reason is behind the mechanism of how a system operates. If it operates a certain way, it doesn't matter. You maneuver with it.
What is it now? Are much better ways to pass the time. Unless... Yeah, I should have known. Go.
It's like with my emails, which are mostly arguments between me and people over... No. Examples. Well, okay, I'm gonna give a big one. For instance, the majority of my fan base are not necessarily neo-Nazis, a lot of far right, some are involved in conspiracy theory, magic, but a lot are extremely anti-Israel and subscribe to the idea of Zog, or the Zionist Occupational Government, which comes from a hoax book published in Russia called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Now, this is the... No, I'm using it as an example. I do not subscribe to this theory. To quote one of my friends in Israel, how the fuck can we control the world? Yes, you did. How the fuck can we control the world when we can't even control our own fucking country? Hi, Guru. So, it doesn't... People can put examples of everything be run by Jews, which is not true. Because everyone is a fucking Jew to conform to the theory. You see, it's a distraction from the fact that there are systems of controls in place. You have to fucking maneuver within them. It doesn't matter who created or whom is operating them. What matters is how the fuck do you survive and not get distracted by all the different alternative outlooks that are mostly dead ends, like giving a shit about the fact that a lot of Western media is owned by companies that are linked to Jewish private business owners in the United States. Yeah, that's an example. Yeah. Okay, that's not the entire world's media though. It's not global. Also, bringing all that shit in. Yeah, this is what I mean. My entire audience, except for me and someone whose name I won't mention, will never shut the fuck up about Zog. But it's a distraction. If I was some godlike figure controlling the entire, if I was the Abrahamic concept of God, and I wanted to fuck with these stupid things I created and laugh at them, destroy each other, and get sidetracked and get absolutely fucking annihilated, I would create mainstream media, but I would also have the same people create alternative media, quote, to push theories that are relevant in some aspects. Like, yes, there are systems that are controlling the Gentile nations. Oh, hey man, how's it going? You're not back on heroin or methadone? This, I think, sorry if that's not you. This game got me through a 6-month morphine withdrawal. Fentanyl. Oh, fuck man. That's not good. Anyway, I'll go to fentanyl in a second. That's all relevant. The systems of control, that I call them, are in place. What does it matter who controls it? If so, you can't provide a causal link to every single element and every single system that functions. Are the Taliban controlled by Zog? Well, you might go to 19... Oh, sweet. You just got off 3 weeks ago. Shit. I remember back in the 2000s when fentanyl patches were fucking really... Fentanyl is a bit too synthetic for me, but Jesus, it fucks you up. I got a fentanyl lollipop back in the 2000s, which are usually given in the lollipop is usually given in a military context when you are evac. I had a lot of friends who were in Afghanistan and who got clipped, and we were given a fentanyl lollipops. I know. You started this, Konata. You abused my system. The point is, there's systems of control in place. It doesn't fucking matter who created them. They're there. Wasting your time pontificating on explaining to the world why it's all the Jews, or why it's all, you know. That's just another dead end. That's just another fucking way of being a normie. Another way of distracting you from actually doing the real shit. I call it the systems of control. I'm actually quoting William S. Burroughs, the heroin addict, famous Beat Generation homosexual writer. Because it is far more complex than that. I get links to websites by contacts, and it's all links to every single alt media figure saying, you know, Jew, Jew, Jew. I do hope one day I will be honoured and put on that list. Because yes, you're always on point. Afghanistan created the mineral crisis. I love how I've gotten completely sidetracked into having to talk about extremism, trying to make my neo-Nazi and also conspiracy theory friends less hostile towards my Jewish friends, and also going back to Afghanistan, heroin, fentanyl, the international state system. This game is a microcosm of all the world's problems in a very real sense, and Bill, this game got me off fucking insane amounts of morphine. Thousands of milligrams a day, alright? And if anyone read an article I wrote about Captagon, which is did I take speed? Well, I'm always on speed. Every day. Not meth, not in a very socially acceptable way. Dexedrine. I fucking need it. I'm also on Oxycontin because I fucking have to be from all these injuries. But I'm not on 10 grams of opium a day and a box of 100 morphine sulfate 10 milligram tablets, a couple fistfuls of Soma, a couple boxes of Atarax, so a couple handfuls of Atarax, and fucking yeah, every day like I did in Central/South Asia. So yeah. No, the methamphetamine, the use of speed in particular, is only really useful as something to put in with heroin when you're using raw diacetylmorphine hydrochloride white heroin to not fucking OD, as unlike cocaine, methamphetamine lasts a very long time. And given that I have a heroin addict here, if you put a tiny bit of meth, I'm talking about like the smallest pinch in with your heroin when you've got raw, and I'm talking about that white heroin that's like slightly brown tinged. It's harm reduction time. Essentially, you shoot when your tolerance is low and all this shit. A little bit of meth, it lasts longer than heroin, so you can essentially just have a tiny bit, so you're not really speedballing, because I don't know how it is there, but access to naloxone and things like that can be difficult sometimes. And if you're by yourself and you go from using 17% shitty brown European heroin to Vietnamese straight out of fucking Hanoi white 70% plus raw, you fucking die. You're dead you'll be unconscious within about 3 seconds well, it hits 3 seconds, it'll hit, and then you'll start fading out pretty quickly. getting that naloxone in your system. So for harm reduction purposes, I do recommend, if you're doing heroin IV for the first time in a long time, throw a bit of speed in there. Other than that, methamphetamine is a Nazi created, well actually it's Japanese, but it's a fucking nightmare drug, and I hate it, and I've only done it for business purposes, where I've been forced to inject a half gram of methamphetamine in front of Vietnamese crime syndicate as to not get murdered. Back around the time this game came out, so a very long time ago. So yeah, this has devolved into... But fentanyl is about 100 times more potent than morphine, and everyone was dying when the patches came out, because no one knew how to dose them. So junkies were shooting the patches, ODing, and then the next junkie would shoot a little bit of the patch, OD, then the next one would. Now it's an epidemic, but yeah. This has gone completely off the fucking rails, but my whole point with all this is to try and show that everything is interconnected. Everything has some abstract relation, acausal. Yeah, buprenorphine, which is Suboxone, which is buprenorphine and naloxone mixed together. Then there's Subutex, which is pure buprenorphine. I fucking hate Subutex. It's, yeah, it throws you into precipitated withdrawal. Man, I'm glad you're not dead, because I don't know anyone. It was 2 AM, the snow was pouring down. I'm turning this... Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. With chaos magic idea that with things like The Simpsons predicting 9/11, using art as a form of divination, in the end all you're doing is the same thing as the tarot card reader, as the astrologer. You're looking at a system and you're trying to read patterns and cycles, which everything is, that emerge. That fucking pig. But this game isn't just a strange, prophetic... Anything collected to Lovecraft too. And now take Xanax and Subutex. If you can, get to a point where you don't need to be high anymore. Like where you can get through the fucking day without having to feel like you're on a fucking... like you're on a little bit of dope. I don't know how old you are, but I used to need it for a very long time. Yeah. 34. So you're a year older than me. I had like a habit that was probably 15 years. And I always have a fucking habit with I haven't used in very long time. 33, so we're the same age. it took me a long time to get off completely, because you get addicted to the shit to get you off it worse than you do the shit that actually got you addicted. It's a fucking nightmare. It's just another means of control. If they can keep you tied to a pharmacy and having to go back constantly and being treated as a criminal, it's just the same as you know, to heal you whilst at the same time you're persecuted and people won't shake your hand because they assume that you have fucking AIDS because you are lined up in a fucking methadone dosing pharmacy. It's a disgusting, dehumanizing way of using a Nazi-created fucking form of heroin that's more addictive, worse than heroin, and unable to come off without, and to switch to another opiate from methadone because it builds up in your system to such an extent. It also crashes your fucking testosterone levels by 90% after just one dose. So it causes you, as a man, methadone causes total testosterone suppression, more addictive than anything that you put in IV, and after a few months you can't switch to heroin because unless you have a lot of fucking money, you're gonna have to shoot a lot of heroin to make up for that methadone. And you're fucked. You're fucked. They've got you. And just like that, they have destroyed a person with potential from having a future. It is a form of social engineering. The fact is, not everybody starts using because they just want to get fucking high. I was on opiates, God, when I was a fucking child. I had to be. Because I grew up in a very rough, to put it nicely, place. And very violent, and I had anyway, hi, thank you. As always, it has gone completely off the rails. Yeah, you see, almost everybody, like with this game, where the main substance you're injecting, talking about fucking blood, here we go, everything you inject in this game is an addictive substance designed to essentially destroy you and make you be dependent on their system. Which is in this case a church, which is also academia, which is also run by a multi-hierarchical organization within the church, and then an intelligence agency on top of the church, and then two feuding factions of different esoteric orders out of academia. Okay, I'm not... Roxy's, are those, what, OxyContin, 15 milligram? Slow release? I don't know that brand. It's different in the countries I've lived. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Almost everybody that ends up... Because the people who want to get high these days, everyone uses meth. Because shooting meth is unbelievably intense. And everyone on methadone just moved to methamphetamine. It created methadone and Subutex and Suboxone has created a fucking new meth epidemic because all the heroin addicts, oh fuck yeah, shooting, you can't even compare smoking and snorting methamphetamine was shooting it. I was forced to by a Vietnamese narco-terrorist syndicate. Yeah, well, you have to be an IV user. I was forced to over a heroin thing with a Vietnamese syndicate out of Hanoi that runs the heroin trade. Yeah. Well, down in Australia and also in anywhere close to Southeast Asia, we're kind of lucky because we've got Vietnam, we've got Laos, we've got Myanmar. Yeah, the back of the throat. Shooting heroin and morphine, you get a bitter taste in the back of the throat and then it hits. And same with meth. Shooting a half gram of Vietnamese methamphetamine in front of them because I was forced to. And I'm not a meth user back in the day, and I'm not now. So, with no tolerance to methamphetamine, half a gram of straight out of the fucking lab meth rock, and having to IV that was the most intense experience I have ever gone through. Within 3 seconds, I became it's not like cocaine, I didn't become a god. It felt like I became an angel. Yeah. Well, it was because these were, to put it in, I've seen people go insane from just a tiny bit of methamphetamine, and that's not even shooting it. So to deal with the Vietnamese, they the thing is, you can't testify against them if you're on so much fucking gear, you know what I mean? And also, you know, Niners, you want to do a fucking character test, you want to see what the fucking I shouldn't even say that, most of them are fucking meth addicts anyway. Okay, we're gonna kill her father. Her mother's already dead. I made a joke saying no mercy for children. People like it because I'm gonna lure her to her death. Yes, in America, you guys, in Europe you've got shitty brown heroin from Afghanistan. Here we've got that. We have the best heroin other than in Southeast Asia. And what shit is, I can get that shit anywhere at any time. It's so cheap because it's so strong here that they can't sell enough heroin. So they want to sell. Anybody seen the movie Chopper? It's an Australian film set in Melbourne, based on the criminal world in the 70s and 80s in the city I live. Has anybody seen Chopper? Because somebody involved in the Painters and Dockers, which is a criminal organisation in Melbourne. Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, you know, I've had to deal with a lot of them, and not just because of. You want to understand how a crime syndicate operates? You can't just fucking waltz up to some Vietnamese guy. Yes. Now, you know how he kills that painter and docker in prison? painters and dockers were a gang that doesn't exist anymore in Melbourne. Well, an old painter and docker in his 60s that I knew back in 2018 who knew Chopper. I knew Chopper too. No, I didn't really know him, but I met him. I saw him, I should say. But anyway, an old painter and docker, he switched to methamphetamine because the heroin got so strong, and it's not fentanyl, it's proper H in Australia, that it scared the shit out of junkies in their 60s. Guys that have outlived everybody, you know? So, for $50 here, so for like 25 USD, you can get shit, you can get, you know, up to a quarter gram, depending on your connections, of raw, very white with a slight orangey tinge heroin that is so strong that guys in their fucking 70s, so in their 60s, who have used this shit forever, it's, yeah. No, Chopper is not a psychopath. He, just because he killed people, being a killer and being a psychopath are very two different things. Psychopaths have absolutely no ability to create. Chopper wrote many books, most of it a very funny, hyperbolic. Oh, no, he's not a sociopath either. Sociopathy is just a word that people used after the movie Psycho came out to describe psychopathy. There's, if you want to get really technical, a psychopath is a whole thing of its own. They're not even human. Speaking of psychopaths, this whole game is based upon the amygdala part of the brain, to the point where there are literal cosmic horror spiders with heads based upon the amygdala reptilian complex of the mind in this game everywhere, that with enough insight you start to see later in the game. Because the reptilian complex of having to keep picking up these items and doing this game is actually forcing you to operate through the amygdala. Draconian. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I think I will do a part 2. They didn't even need to use fear. People just... I've got fucking autoimmune problems, for fuck's sake, and I'm not a complete pussy regarding COVID-19, and it almost killed me twice, because when I get sick, I almost die. My immune system got fucking destroyed from getting in Central/South Asia. Yes, so this whole game is based upon forcing you to use the only part of the brain a psychopath operates by. No, I haven't. Okay, I'm gonna kill a religious figure, religious fanatic in a second. Yes, his lectures, fuck's sake. His lectures, especially on Alexander Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago, which is a masterpiece of Slavic, history, literature, and also on existentialism. on Russian, Eastern European existentialist masterpiece. And yeah, you know, psychopathy is a whole different monster. No, I don't know about that. But I'm glad you're not dead, Bill, because everybody I know is, pretty much, back in the day. Because one fuck up with H. Oh, okay. One fuck up with H. And especially with the fentanyl, flooding everything, yeah, you're gone. Easiest person in the world to kill is a junkie, other than an old woman. Did I pick up the fucking badge? No, I have to go back. Wait. Yeah, getting hot-shotted is a big issue. People want to liquidate you. They don't even have to put strychnine or anything in your dope, they just fucking put a bit of fentanyl or give you raw instead of trash. Most of my friends were they were either murdered, they either OD'd, suicided, which is another way of me saying murdered. A lot were veterans from Afghanistan and got absolutely no support from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Most were a few are okay. I don't know. I don't even look anymore because it's like, why? All the acquaintances. But yeah, we do. I've got no issue with. No. Here they actively make. If you served in Afghanistan, say in Operation Anaconda in 2002, right? And you were in the 2nd Commando Regiment, right? And you saw what happened there, and you go to a psychologist for combat PTSD. Well, if you go to a session with a non-Department of Veteran Affairs psychiatrist or psychologist and talk to them, you're in trouble. I have guys that I know whose fucking files, whose service records, who have been slandered, charged with war crimes, one of them is too, which I described the context of one of them in the Psychopath podcast I did, which it wasn't really a war crime, it was a complex situation, because they give no context, but yeah, they all threaten to get rid of your fucking DVA gold card and shit, you know? Like, it's bad. It's really bad. You can't defend yourself against slander because if you're in special operations, they won't give you your service record. So you can't defend yourself. Like, everyone I knew were officers in the 2nd Commando Regiment, which is the equivalent, I guess, of the, maybe in a US context, they're the best military special forces unit within the Australian Army. That's the context that I was talking about with regards to my friend that was charged with war crime. Yeah, they use... I'm gonna turn this fucking voice to chat thing on so I can actually... Again, Konatar, don't abuse this. I will block you. Because the voice to chat feature is... I can't see the entire comment. And everything's getting interesting and off the rails. Which I don't care, because I'm talking about shit that I need to fucking talk about. So don't abuse this shit. So I'm coming back in the game. Don't abuse it. Voice to chat
no
feature.
Worries, mate. Face blue smiling. My apologies.
Thank you. Thank you. Because, yeah, I don't get the entire chat in the game. They use language like in the Vietnam War when they started calling civilian casualties, you know, collateral damage. They just changed the language for the same fucking thing. It's as you know, language is a virus. Language is a way to change fucking neurological pathways within the mind in order to
just another euphemism.
And that's the thing, almost everything you need to know about how things operate is always right in front of you. The problem is navigating it because they change the language. You go through, for instance, if you ever did any private military contracting work,
home,
right?
Good hunter.
Or if you did work
What is
as
it
a
you
private
desire?
intelligence contractor, which is something I have done in the most
little
basic,
ones,
lame
inhabitants
level.
of the dream. They find
You can get access.
IDF bombing civilians is crazy.
and serve them.
I
Speak
haven't
words
watched
they do
that. I
not,
don't focus on
but still, aren't they sweet?
Palestine, Israel, and the Gaza Strip because
Very well.
I've got fucking friends, and I've had a lot of friends
I
get
hate
killed.
Bloodborne.
Me too, because I've actually seen shit in real life. I don't mind war because it's essentially it's an occupation. It's
Farewell.
but and so in the context of war, watching people get killed, it's, and I'm talking about war can be any form of combat related shit, you know. Gang warfare, it all operates the same. It's just guerrilla warfare, asymmetrical warfare in the streets. Knifing somebody in a rush attack, it's still warfare. It's still killing somebody for business or for territory or for... It's just a microcosm of... Yeah. So if you drop 3 bikies over
I take no sides
cocaine...
in any conflict. My government is fucked.
Yeah, as my Jewish friend
Is it
in
fair
Israel
to say
put
that
it...
Russia has won, and that ISIS is a CIA, MI6, Mossad etc. project?
Daesh, to put it this way, when I got fucked up by some mujahideen in South Asia, right? I was there when a whole bunch were returning from the UK. Now, there were Al-Qaeda guys in the place I was. And this was back when I was a Muslim. Now, Al-Qaeda had infiltrated the masjids and shit in the area. But when the guys from the UK came back, they were more radical than anyone else. And I got in a bad situation with somebody because of somebody radicalized by ISIS or Daesh in the UK. The UK is...
War is politics. War is words, a causal.
Caspian
Insight
C,
and
nice to
means
see you
fight is
again.
the failure to articulate into the causal.
You're absolutely correct.
They were probably second-generation immigrants.
No, this is not in... This is in... this is overseas. They were... This is in a place where they speak... Oh, I'll just say it's in a place...
Sir.
You too, Caspian. It's in a place where they predominantly speak a language called Urdu. So you can make of that what you will. So I got fucked up by... because of the UK's masjids. So they're more extreme than the radicals in places where the radicals come from. The ones that went to the UK. Fucking dangerous. ISIS also killed a friend of mine, a Saudi Arabian friend of mine in end of 2012. Because his family were rich. They had a oil on the border of Iraq and Saudi Arabia border town. A friend of mine who I lived with when I was in university, he went back home to see his family. Now the Saudi Arabian aristocracy don't like not having a total monopoly on the oil trade, so they used ISIS in Iraq in November, December 2012 to cross through the border and take over this town and then kill... I'm friends with him on fucking PlayStation.
How many wars have you been a merkin?
None. I'm not a veteran or anything like that. I just I guess like David Meyer, I just went to places. And there's no adequate way to explain why or how the fuck I got there, or what happened, because no matter how I put it, it makes me look like a spook, it makes me look like, you know, or when a lot of it was just absolute pure chance and strange circumstances, but and connections. But yeah, ISIS were used by essentially to reconsolidate massive amounts of territory within the Middle East and do things like kill my friend and film it, which is awful, having to watch an actual friend of yours in real life get you know, publicly executed within 20-30 other people, all with AK-47s to their backs and entire clips fucking shot into them, fountaining blood everywhere. It's not a nice fucking thing to watch. So the reason I don't look at the whole fucking Gaza situation is I've got a friend who lives very close. He's Jewish, never was in the IDF, even though they get conscripted. He, on medical grounds, was able to not have to be conscripted. So he's never done anything.
I was a guard at Camp Bucker, and it's wild to know that is where ISIS incubated.
Camp Bucker. Oh fuck, man. What year? Man, I didn't realize I had... Well, I knew people were interesting because... I mean, ISIS are a manifestation also of the remnants of the empire created by the Al-Qaeda in Iraq insurgency from 2003.
07.
Yeah, you see, this is what I mean, like... And I'm not saying this to be a dick, but you're like...
08.
Oh wait, yeah. So you would have been, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. People don't realize how young you can be and what you can have already gone through. Because when Bill and I were fucking teenagers, it was fucking wartime. Shit was getting hot really bad in fucking 2007 in Iraq. Really fucking bad in Ramadi especially. But from 2007 to 2011, shit got very hot in Afghanistan and Iraq. And Australians,
Really
New Zealanders...
polite people. I was never a dick to any of them.
Yeah, that's fucking amazing. People are very fucking complex, but the majority of veterans and people involved in any of this shit have problems with, in particular, heroin addiction, mostly through getting addicted to painkillers. A lot of it's service-oriented or orientated because of violence, and then we've all been played. We've all been fucking played. And to me, the context of this game and why it has a significance is role-playing in the occult is extremely useful. The Golden Dawn dress up as fucking Isis and Osiris and Horus. You know, they do that shit for a fucking reason. So, what's the difference in taking a character in a complex world where you don't know what the fuck is going on and going through, especially when you know it's based upon somebody who the works of people that focus on or influenced by complex networks and systems of control. You can roleplay your way through a world like this and then cross-transfer those skills into reality. And like this game being a subtle predictor to a global pandemic along with many others, also the correspondences in the occult are not just gematria and Greek gematria, you know. Correspondences are colors.
I knew they were up to something.
Oh yeah.
But I would do the same if I were in their shoes.
Baghdadi,
Jelani, etc. were there, but I.
But you know about Abu Mustad al-Zakari, right, man? The guy that was the Prince of Princes in Iraq. He created, when we pulled out of Iraq in 2009.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. In 2009, there were only something like 120 of Abu Mustad al-Zakari's guys left, like al-Baghdadi. What's amazing to me is we could have absolutely killed all of them if we just stayed a little bit longer. Obama pulling out, I don't know if he did that because he's a fucking coward and he did it for, you know, to look good, or to allow them to slip over into Syria, use the fucking political situation there
He had
to
tattoos,
things up.
but
Yeah.
manually tore them off in a Jordanian prison.
Yep. I'm actually writing a fucking article on the guy at the moment. He used a razor blade to cut his tattoos off. Like me, his arm is completely covered. So both arms, which is, I got into some serious situation because of my tattoo poking through my Arab garments. The famous
Bin Laden was not impressed with him.
No, the guy was too extreme. He was actually rejected, and he was on a hit list essentially from what's his name, Saddam Hussein. Despite being a psychopathic, totalitarian nightmare dictator, Saddam Hussein was trying to kill al-Zarqawi because he was a fucking danger. He was only he was in Iraq because he was not able.
That's why he got bombed in a safe house.
In 2007. 2 700-pound bombs dropped on him, and then he was shot manually by a. But they took pictures of him, which they didn't have Bin Laden, but that's a whole other issue. Another thing, why with the Bin Laden situation, when you go to do what they call, instead of find and kill, they call it a targeted killing, of someone like Abu Musad al-Zarqawi. You don't send in 3 fucking Blackhawks full of incredibly expensive Navy SEALs. No, you get 2 F-16s to fly over and drop 2 700-pound bombs on the fucking place. And then you come in with Navy SEALs to go and fucking find them. You don't go in to capture them alive in a fucking compound where a shitload get fucking killed. No one involved in special operations, I'm talking about officers involved in
He was
both.
probably sub 105 IQ, Zarqawi.
Zarqawi was a street guy, he was a fucking... I have more respect for Zarqawi despite being a fucking monster than Baghdadi, who just took over his ideology and was... Zarqawi actually believed in what he was doing. To cut your fucking arms. People think Chopper's hardcore for fucking cutting his ears off. Imagine cutting off all the skin on both your right and left arm with a razor blade in a prison. He was also a Captagon junkie. Captagon is a mixture of amphetamine and caffeine. All of the... If you're bored, aristocrat in the Middle East, what? You have nothing to do, you go to prison if you fuck. You can't have sex, and you're rich, you're not married yet, you're betrothed, your wife is 12, or your betrothed is 12, you have to wait till they're 16 to marry them, so you can't have sex, prison, you can't drink, you can't do anything. Well, taking these pills that are caffeine and amphetamine and driving cars is all you can do.
Bin Laden was caught by surprise, because I believe the US knew of his whereabouts for years. He was left alone for years, that's my guess.
Well, they needed a reason to justify Afghanistan, which the point of Afghanistan wasn't just heroin. The point of Afghanistan was rare minerals. That's why China snuck in with private contractors to go and steal as much rare minerals as possible before the Taliban reconsolidated, in all honesty, their own fucking country. Let's bring someone else in. Everything, the rare mineral crisis of where you couldn't get a fucking PS5 for 3 years. That was because of Afghanistan. China, because of the Taliban taking over, couldn't...
But I thought it was about freedom.
Freedom doesn't fucking exist.
Lol.
Well, it does. You have to create your own. You have to maneuver. I'm trying to summon another player to help me kill a boss. If he can hear my mic, that will be funny. Because this has just been completely off the rails. But I knew it would be. We've gone into a lot of shit that is connected to my other work. But I actually enjoy talking to you guys, and I enjoy this game, so who gives a shit. Some episodes of this will be actually more relevant. Bill, are you a fan of
game set? 16th century Paris.
Czech Republic, Prague, and also a few places in Romania. Everything here is based on real architecture in Central Slavic countries, but specifically Prague. Prague is the home of fucking magic, the Western esoteric tradition. Every occultist worth their salt for the past 700 years has spent time with the aristocracy in Prague. Dr. John D. 007 himself and Edward Kelly were doing alchemy in Prague. Okay, I probably won't be able to find another player just yet. I mean, this game is very old. Do you like Cosmic... Have you read Lovecraft, Bill? By the way, I like...
You should make a video on alchemy books, sir.
If I do, I'll get shit from people...
I can never understand it.
I'm not the best regarding alchemy, even though I do see and study its significance. Thing is I deal with people from different systems of magic.
Dr.
And all.
John Dee is probably the most intelligent man to have walked this world.
Definitely one of them. 007 is based on him. Her Majesty's Secret Service, Queen Elizabeth I. Dr. John Dee was a spy because occultists could move around Europe and do alchemy and shit and spy on the courts of the aristocracy of other European countries. So the John Dee's code name was 2 zeros and a 7. 2 eyes and a hand watching over them. If you go through Dr. John Dee's fucking shit from back in the day, so that even though I hate James Bond because he makes intelligence tradecraft a joke.
Alchemy is as unique to the alchemist as a fingerprint.
Thank you. Caspian Sea is a 9er. And the O&A really know their shit when it comes to alchemy. Particularly because it's utilized...
Gregory Rasputin is an interesting character also. Lovecraft is formulaic. He is afraid of the antagonist, but slowly becomes what he hates.
Lovecraft is a fucking prophet. Yes. I assume you're a 9er because I've seen you on Twitter. I don't care. But you seem very interested in O&A related subjects, so a sock puppet account for probably a UK 9er. But I might be wrong. I'm not saying that in any negative light, man. I'm an insight role anyway, and also the son of David Mayat, and Richard Malt's my uncle, because, you know, it's all in the family. I love that conspiracy theory about me. Sadly, I'm not David Mayat's biological son. And Richard Malt is not my uncle. Alright, let's just go kill Gascoigne. He's essentially a Jesuit, another intelligence organization for the Catholic Church that created an entire rebellion in Japan further purposes of displacing the Dutch East India Trade Company.
I enjoy the right of self-immolation.
Yes. Richard Maltese.
The military wing.
So he's a church hunter who has...
Unaffiliated, but heavily interested. I'm actually honored to have heard that from you.
That's okay, I always look at who follows me on Twitter. You're not one of the ones that... edgelord niners that in America that think that it's scaring me or some shit.
All over the shop.
You actually look like somebody that I probably know of, maybe, or know in some network of mine. You're not associated with the River Isis or 7 Oxonians. So yeah, I'm using his own daughter against him. But no problem, Caspian Sea. I respect anybody that is an actual adept and practitioner.
With my ethnic background, I am a member of the Order of 9 Anglos.
There's Niners in fucking Russia. Nazism and the ONA are only connected in the sense that neo-Nazism is a useful insight role, as it's a form of self-initiation. It's non-political in a sense. The ONA transcends politics. It's all about creating an evolutionary change to bring humanity back into a state of evolution from the evolved state.
What's that smell?
So, inadvertently, I am somebody that serves the sinister dialectic in the context of the Order of 9 Angles. So I am, in that context, yes, I am 100% a inside role for the Order of 9 Angles.
Everything I can. I don't do clubs though and have 0 contacts, so consider myself a wilder. I said Anglos, not Anglos.
Oh, Anglos.
I don't want to get in trouble.
You're not going to get in trouble with regards... Those spooks do watch my shit and share it in private... So in open source intelligence places. West Point academics share my shit because they see me as a new source of getting open source intelligence, even though I'm not doing it for them. So that's why I've got a lot of West Point counter-terrorism experts from Italy and also West Point veterans. Yeah. Okay, let's do this the Slavic way. I'm gonna throw oil on him, and I'm gonna Molotov him. That's how we fucking do it. No, in Serbia, what we do is we do what we did in 2003. We get someone in the military with a Serbian version of a Kalashnikov, because we don't use AK-47s in Serbia. We got into a argument with Russia in this sort of 60s, 70s over, and they refused to give us the Kalashnikov blueprints. So we had to reverse engineer our own Kalashnikov, by the way. So I've forgotten the name of the Serbian version, but it's an AK-47, but we had to reverse engineer one from the Soviet Union in the 70s or 60s because they refused to give it to us because we pissed them off by becoming too Serbian for a period, not communist enough.
KK-74.
Yep. Okay. Now we are going into the church district, essentially, but we'll go to the guy with his sex doll, which is also a outer god, a manifestation of... I need to open up fucking Naos. Caspian Sea, if you're there, we should try and bait Jake Hammerhand into thinking that this game was created by a Japanese Order of Nine Angles associate of David Mayat, Hidetaka Miyazaki. Because in this game we are using insight to gain knowledge. This is all secret code for Hanrahan to schizo post about. I would love to see him accuse Hidetaka Miyazaki. And the outer gods in this game are references to Naos and references to what's it called? Nemku, and you know. Anyway, she's essentially Babylon, but a doll version in Thelema, but she's also an elder god, and she's a literal sex doll created by a guy with autism who's a literal incel, and we're sort of in his dream right now. His books are on how to get fair maidens.
Thinks he knows about 09 or any satanic orders. He's
a fucking idiot, and today he was posting about far left groups in the Ukraine. So I posted a picture of a Ukrainian soldier with the Deringer Brigade patch going, you do know that these far leftists are a fucking kill squad. They're exactly the fucking same.
With so many current players, it's hard to imagine this game as anything but ONAHQ007.
Please, Caspian Sea. Hanrahan refuses to... He can't block me, even though he did in the past, because it will cause him annoying shit. He never mentions me because he doesn't want to bring anyone to me. Yeah, so I can't bait Jake Hanrahan because he ignores me, and he will never reply to me nor use my name on Twitter, because I am even though he has 123 or whatever thousand people following him.
PD well, little brothers, lol.
Someone bait him that this game is a secret. It's the Star game by David Mayat, but reconstructed by a Japanese Niner, who's also a Tojo Japanese racial purist who wants to bring back Japanese master race racial hygiene. Please, someone bait him. I want to see Jake Hanrahan's schizo post about the guy who created this game. And this is a Lovecraftian game, so it's racist. So, you know.
Face with tears of joy.
An old contact of mine had a very good... Because Hanrahan and I... He won't talk to me anymore.
He has no argument against you, else he'd have your name in his mouth and all over his feed.
He called me a O&A propagandist posing as a journalist. And then he blocked me. And this is way back, and so I made a video about him where... And he eventually unblocked me, but we talked, but I kept trying to tell him, look, I'll tell you what the O&A is, for fuck's sake, so you don't get it wrong.
Lovecraft's racism was built on his fear of the other.
Yes.
Rather than an actual hatred, I believe.
Exactly. It's his fear of, after going to New York and seeing that these meshes of cultures that cannot integrate with each other is going to cause issues. That's one element of it, yeah. And I'm gonna say it because the name of his cat is not abnormal circa 1920. I would call my cat that. I should get a cat. Oh, this is useful. People focus on Lovecraft's racism because it's a distraction from the fact that Lovecraft actually converted to Islam because after he read 1001 Arabian Nights. Lovecraft was not some hero for atheists. Lovecraft was not...
People look at the 1920s like it's today.
Yes. H.P. Lovecraft is someone who... His father went insane from syphilis. His mother also kind of lost it. He had a occult library from his Masonic grandfather. He was somebody who feared the occult because most likely he had an intense occult experience that... And it's a warning, because to be honest, most people that have been involved in the occult go fucking crazy to this very day, because they don't know what they're doing. They lose their shit. Like, Crawley put it quite well in John St. John, talking about finishing his Abramelin operation in Paris. Crawley went on about how, like when he was in China on a raft through a river where the majority of crafts get destroyed and kill everybody.
Whether he knew what he was doing or not, he absolutely experienced something.
Yes, he did. He did. And I swing between my beliefs on the occult. Or last year I went through a very rough time. Yes.
Never go too deep in the weeds of any occult system you don't fully comprehend.
Nobody fully comprehends. That's the thing. No one's infallible. You get to a certain point, and then...
Don't treat a family member's home like Bullskin House.
Well, given the amount of people who enjoy... And the funny thing about the O&A is the O&A likes to pretend it's not full of, even in the UK, people that are doing stupid shit constantly. They like to have an air of professionalism when the majority of them are coked up, high as fuck, and like, yeah, they're not. And that's the thing, methamphetamine and the occult don't mix. Meth is useful in staying awake, and if you want to experience the most intense rush you can get imaginable, though you'll probably go insane because most people... But fuck, yeah. The occult is just filled with glass blasting, wannabe, meth addicted black magicians. It's filled with pretentious dickheads who don't believe in anything and don't actually practice magic, but just talk about alchemy, talk about magic on a theoretical level. But if you have a limited vernacular, like I do apparently, you're a fucking loser. It's full of dogmatic people. So I want nothing to do with the occult in the sense of I do my own thing. I guess I'm an existentialist. It works though. Chaos magic works. Fucking Islamic magic
Fucking
worked.
elitists hate them all.
I don't know. Elitism's good to a degree, but it's when it becomes like Catholics arguing about how many angels you can fit onto the top of a pinhead. Minutia, it gets a bit, you know. Despite situations I can't go into, I've gotten more from having to deal with being accused of, and also because the ONA system, you can't just, like with the Vietnamese, if you want to get connected with them, you can't just be a fucking normal journalist. You have to take that shot of methadone, like I had to with the Vietnamese. You are treated not as a journalist, you're treated as a niner. They're not going to treat you any fucking differently because of some status that you put on yourself. Hanrahan. You want to get in, you want to understand what the fuck's going on, you actually need to become involved in some way. You've got to ride with them like Hunter S. Thompson and the Hells Angels. And like David Mayat, I will never confirm I will never of certain satanic organizations involvement. But I'll never be able to not be seen as involved. However, I've gotten more out of being involved networking with the ONA, having to go through their mystical system.
David Mayat himself plays Bloodborne, if I'm right.
No, David Mayat, you have to tell Hanrahan that he and Hidetaka Miyazaki, the director of this game,
Welcome. What is
Hidetaka Miyazaki is the head of the Japanese Nexion, Tojo, bring back
farewell, good hun.
Emperor Hirohito did nothing wrong, or some shit. Fucking some Japanese Nexion secretly, and that you got this information. And Bloodborne is David Mayat's star game to turn normal people into initiates.
For that duel.
David Mayat never, you all know this, never challenged Jake Hanrahan to a duel. As one of my contacts, whom is directly involved with David Mayat himself, told me, it would just be a fucking setup for MI6, sorry, for MI5 and Special Service Branch or whatever to charge him with attempted murder. I know. Hanrahan, I confronted him, he knows these accounts aren't Mayat, just like he knows he's supporting death squads in the Ukraine to kill anyone they deem to be neo-Nazis, which is anyone they deem to be against the dictatorship of the proletariat. Hanrahan he thinks I'm a piece of shit. Hanrahan, actually, I hate him openly and told him that he is a absolutely disgusting human being. Because he actively knows and promotes this shit, knowing full well what he's doing, which makes him more disgusting than some.
He will end up like Temple of Blood members in South Carolina.
Hanrahan knows exactly what he's talking about. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why Maya will never challenge him to a fucking duel. Also, Maya does not see Jake Hanrahan as a rival worthy of fucking dueling. Because he has no honor anyway. So for Hanrahan's sake, so, you know, people have made entire careers from David Mayat. Hope Not Hate, who also stalked me on Twitter. And also Antifa in Australia, no. You're never going to get any fucking... Well, you might get evidence of me being a neo-Nazi. I'm not one anymore. I was for a brief period as a fucking teenager, which we all know about from my interview with David Mayat, regards to Combat 18, but... Yeah, people have made entire careers over bullshit about David Mayat, and that's another thing. My correspondence with David Mayat did not fucking stop.
What are your political beliefs, thinking face?
Politically, I am not political nationally. I don't engage in national politics, meaning not just this country, but just national politics in general. I am a realist in international relations political theory. Realism is pretty much a form of existentialism that has come out of Machiavelli influences from... It's all about cycles. It's just all the shit I talk about is... There's the Henry Kissinger, interestingly enough, he's a neo-realist. You understand historically that these cycles never change. So, with regards to how people or states operate, you know to expect the worst, in a sense. So you have to find ways to realistically maneuver within that. Because you go by history. And the same thing happens again and again and again. And it's not going to change. We're not going to magically fix everything. So we have to sort of... I will go into this properly. Realism, sadly, has now been seen as some, like, alt-right thing in international relations, when it's not at all. It's not even conservative. It has not... It's a fucking... It's Ibn Khaldun's Asubiya. It's... David Mayat sent me a book called The Mutaquin by a sociologist. Most of... Okay, so you're a Nazi. Alright, so you're sort of... I guess I would be, but I have absolutely no faith in government at all, nor interest or care. I just want to be left the fuck alone. A Confederate. I don't give a shit who's in control and what's happening in my fucking country. I don't even know half the time what the fuck is going on. However...
I will leave you alone if you leave me alone, closer to an anarchist.
Yes. I guess... But... It's funny. The, people associated with David Mayat consider themselves anarchists. Which is a direct quote from certain networks of contacts directly involved with David Mayat himself. So I guess, yeah, that's a simplistic way of putting it, but they're also very Machiavellian. They are realists in international relations theory, like Kissinger. Because they're all in their fucking 60s and 70s, and they're all academics, mostly in Cambridge and Oxford. And... Oh fuck, I forgot what I was doing. But yeah,
Does anarchy and empathy overlap?
Empathy being the most important concept. Fuck, I forgot what I was doing. Hold on one second. Empathy is in the O&A and also in David Myatt's system, which of course has no relation to the O&A at all. Empathy is the most important concept, along pretty much within Myatt's. One of the most important concepts, I should say.
And not a place you'd not much of it.
David Myatt doesn't, he's like a Jesuit. He doesn't look at things in the sense of years. He looks at them in centuries.
ONA seems to want to claim Myatt.
The ONA in the UK at least, the ones that are associated with Myatt and Malt, if they like you, if you're associated or not, or if you're associated in any way, they just take your shit without you knowing half the time and use it. I don't fault them for that, it's just part of the system. Most ONA material is not ONA. It's shit like Ibn Khaldun's Mutaquin, you know? It's stuff that they find they like, that they give to adepts on a person-to-person basis. It's a intelligence network, essentially, functions. Alright, so the woman here should now be replaced by a spook who kills her and takes over her clinic, who works for an intelligence organization in the game that is behind this pandemic.
You're safe.
One
If
of them.
you're honest, it's taken from multiple systems.
Yes.
I'm afraid nothing will change. I'll do... Now go.
Okay, she hasn't been replaced yet with a member of a group in this game called the Choir.
Are you... But I haven't...
Which literally, one of the causes of Caspian Sea. One of the oh yeah, you would have seen that the other day when I streamed this. Of me doing this is I'm trying to show that through either consciously or not, things get transmitted in things like video games, places you wouldn't expect, and you can get great knowledge of being able to cross-transfer that into the real world. This game uses a lot of algebra, which for somebody with a year 9 education in mathematics was impossible for me to actually do. I can't even do my mental marching times tables because I'm a shitty... I have very bad dyslexia and dyscalculia that was not treated when I was a child properly. No fault of my parents, it was just a situational thing. So that's why my spelling is terrible. I can't pronounce things. So I can't do basic mathematics. But the times tables, for instance, was created by the Prussian education system in the 1800s as a form of marching in the mind to help make people think, to help fucking mind control people. It's literally mental marching. 2, 4, 6, 8. Anybody who's had to do drill in a military context, which is the most boring, horrible thing you could ever do, marching is a great way to be forced into conformity. And the times tables was created to set you up to be more malleable for mind control. So me not being able to do it has turned out to be a positive. Not really. Like you need it, but
I don't reckon you're
alright, people start getting more and more insane. I'm just going to the little girl to tell her that her mother's dead, and then set her up to get killed. As an opfer. Because she needs to be replaced by her sister, so I can get an item.
Hello, Miss Hunter. Still can't find my mum.
And like almost everyone associated with the ONA,
Yes, okay. Mum knows I'm really brave, and you're very kind. I won't be afraid. I'll be a good girl.
you better be,
Promise.
otherwise I'll start bringing in corporal punishments.
Hello, Miss Hunter.
Oh no, I have to go to the fucking church first, okay. So she's... God, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to pull this off without everything going to Afghanistan, heroin, David Mayat, the Order of Nine Angles, Jake Hanrahan. And international politics. Is it possible? I don't care, I'm gonna do it anyway. It's fun and I enjoy having a method of communicating with my audience as
Chaos Magic 2 takes from almost all systems.
Yep.
Claiming ownership of any system is the beginning of radicalizing
Yes.
the malleable.
Yes. Caspian, I like you a lot. It's nice having this, as I've mostly been having a terrible time ever since my alleged involvement with certain Satanistic organizations. I've been having a rough time, especially on Twitter and certain
Conversations
networks.
over the gameplay is killer good.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm having fun. Because I don't get to know what my audience is like, because Twitter is not my audience. Twitter is a hellscape of spooks, Antifa, spying on me, pedophiles who I block because they're angry about certain videos I made, and also people wanting me to support their organizations, and Taliban, because I always have Taliban contacts. They're good, but you know, I don't get a good idea of what kind of people actually, yeah, so this is very helpful and it's nice. I'm going to be doing this quite often because
I do not engage at all with Twitter.
yeah, I wouldn't if I didn't sort of have to. Like I was so close to being done with all this shit, with everything. But and I've got things coming up. I've got a lot of stuff going on in the background. Alright, here we go.
You've clearly never backed anything beside individuating oneself. You don't seem like a joiner in the slightest. But what do I know, I just...
I'll reply in a moment. Okay, I'm gonna let my audience decide something and then I'll respond to you. Caspian Sea and people like that. There are 2 people now that I'm able to send civilians to who need help. One of them is this guy. The other is the medical clinic. I'm gonna let you guys decide who I send where, because it'll be funny. Unless I need something from them. But anyway, I guess I've been involved in lots of different things. It's just I've come to a point of not wanting direct involvement really because I can't be bothered dealing with the bullshit anymore, you know? Like for instance, I've been involved in, everyone knows I was a Muslim. Other than having Islamic contacts, I have no involvement in Islam. But I'm not disrespecting Islam. I'll be honest about it, but same with things like the Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO. I technically had involvement with them. I left, though I was most likely going to be excommunicated because of being a ONA infiltrator, which, so yeah, I think I was fucked anyway. So I've got really very little involvement with anything. However, I will be involved with systems if they're useful for my own means of survival and maneuvering in the future. And I'm saying that with absolute honesty and certainty, and being very careful with how I say that. For instance, if it serves me to join a group because it will get me a career or a income rise, right? Even if I don't particularly give a shit.
Too much beef between the systems. Take what works for you.
Yes, also we've gotten incredibly atomized, where things have also become very petty, and everything is a power game in almost everywhere. So I've come to a point now where I will let people do their thing. If people want my help, I can help them. And put personal feelings aside, I want no direct involvement beyond if somebody wants music for a project, they can ask me. And I don't care if it's associated with something like that might be deemed transgressive, because I am transgressive. However, I'm not going to join their group because I need to be unless, for instance, say if I need to be involved with people because of career reasons, it might be best that I join the Freemasons, you know, for instance. I will do that because if that will serve my purposes. That's not an insight role, that is just being fucking pragmatic, because we're in a world where you can't survive if you don't have the ability to move around, an income, ability to actually have a decent finances for a period and put that aside to support your future. I'm not a survivalist or a paranoid person waiting for the spooks to come in and fucking take me away. I've got no paranoia because I know how they all fucking operate anyway, and if they want me, they can easily get rid of me.
Dr. Hunter Thompson rode with the Hells Angels for years for
Yes.
this book, though never was one correlation.
That's the best way that I put how I operate. I will ride with them. And you have to get fucking close enough with a group for things to actually, you have to actually, you know, be sincere and have an... So, yeah, I guess in that context, so I'm somebody that is hoping to impart my little bit of gnosis from my own fucking pathomethos in this process of physis that I am going through. Which is why I will talk about things like being a morphine addict on a stream that has nothing to do with that when someone pops up that I know is also a heroin addict in the past or currently. If I can give them information that might not be readily available that helps them avoid being trapped within a fucking program of forced fucking imprisonment of Suboxone, Subutex or Methadone, I will give them information to help them with that. Because I did it, and then if I can do it, they can too. And then I cross-transfer that way of thinking to everything else that I do. It's about survival. Because everything is high stakes, and people don't understand that. People don't... They go through life and they'll have reality hit them, like people in Melbourne, like not... I mean, there's nothing you can do about the horrendous lockdowns that we had to go through here, but it's broken people. And
genuine question. How do you keep from losing yourself when so heavily associated? I'm a hermeticist and don't have any experience with others.
How you don't lose yourself? Well, you do lose yourself, that's the fucking problem.
Methadone is way worse than heroin. The withdrawals lasted for over a month, never again.
Yes, methadone is Nazi-created dope that suppresses your testosterone levels if you're a male by 90% after just one dose, destroys your testosterone levels over time, completely shuts you down. They don't put people on TRT. If you're on methadone and you're watching, and you're a man, your testosterone levels are going to be fucked. You're going to have to inject testosterone to offset that, because then you're going to start developing. Yeah, it's fucking horrible.
Alone, so I'm heavily averted to groups.
That's the thing. That's what Lovecraft and sort of warns of. Like, it comes to a point where is it even worth having any involvement? But then you go outside, and I don't know how it is where you are, and you see what normal people do for fun, and it's like, fuck.
Oh, you must be a hunter. Very sorry. The incense must have masked your
But I
scent.
lost myself.
Good.
Many times.
Good. I've been waiting for one of your ilk. These hunts have everyone all locked up inside.
Best thing to do.
Waiting for it to end. It always does. Always has, you know. Since forever. But it won't end nicely. Not this time. Even some folks hiding inside are going bad. The screams of women folk. The stench of blood. The snarls of beasts. None of them's too uncommon now. Yarnum's done for, I tell ya. But if you spot anyone with their wits about them...
Solitary practice is the way.
They'll be safe here. The incense wards off the beasts. Spread the word. tell him to come on over. If you wouldn't mind.
I say solitary practitioner or with a partner, preferably within a loving relationship. Beyond that, associated in a way.
+1 at Susan Turbeville.
Like, right now we are technically, I guess, a small collective of individuals that are discussing whether to be a solo practitioner or whether to be involved and how not to lose yourself. So this is a collective of sorts. However, there's no leader in that. This is just a... Oh Jesus Christ, now I'm sounding like a cult leader. This is just a Nexion, this is just a gate, this is just a Stargate. I'm a Nexion to the... Fuck, I should exploit the fuck out of this, but everybody's...
I know I shouldn't. If you happen upon someone while hunting, tell them about this here Erdon Chapel. If they seem worth being told, that is. Oh, and I do sincerely hope they are.
So every one of you is now O&A, you're all in my collective. You all... No, not really, but...
I know I shouldn't be asking you, but if you happen upon someone while hunting...
Alright, do you want me to send people to this guy, or send people to the,
Well, you are Myatt's son, right?
Yes, and Richard Malt is my, Uncle Malt and, Daddy Myatt. According to user perspective, my favorite person's conspiracy theory. Though they're a bit of a dick. I think they gave me shit about
this guy.
Dyslexia. But yeah. Because apparently I look like very much like David Myatt and Malt. It's all in the family.
Not the medical NPC.
Yes, this is a... Well... Yeah, but now we're in the Cathedral Ward District. Now, survivors I can either send to this church where that homeless guy is living, filled with incense, or I can send them to a medical clinic with a nice doctor. Where do you want me to send that, survivors, people? Oh, and
there's a resemblance to Note, but I don't see the Myatt connection, lol.
Because my father is the exact same age as David Myatt. However, I am not in any way have any connection to the UK genetically. I am completely...
Nice doctor.
Well, we'll go to her.
No, I shouldn't. If you happen upon some... If they... Oh.
The nice doctor quickly, because the nice doctor...
No doc.
Well, she's not a doctor anymore. She's been replaced by a intelligence officer who killed the doctor. Well, she hasn't killed the doctor. She's turned the doctor using certain vaccinations into something and is trying to get it right because she wants to sort of
very well.
bring forth... Well, if we help her, she'll give us shit. I thought you guys are all Niners. Shouldn't we send him? Oh, this is the incel. He Gurman. Yeah. When I get a monocle or whatever, I can zoom in on the book titles, which is How to Get Fair Maidens.
The Hippocratic Oath.
Well, she's not a doctor anymore, Caspian. She's been replaced by somebody who's sort of an insight role of sorts. That works for an organization out heavily connected to academia and in no way has similarities to the O&A. And it's for a greater purpose. So it serves a sinister dialectic to send them to the doctor. Possibly. Because I might want to kill them later on and then get their shit. And then kill the intelligence officer for the... Yeah, existential crisis time. This game is very based with regards to the Doctor. Also, all about lunar cycles.
Tonight. If the beasts loom large and threaten to crush your spirits, seek a holy chalice, as every hunter before you has. A holy chalice will reveal the tomb of the gods, where hunters partake in communion.
So they're just loot crates with a pulse. I dig it.
Some are, yes.
Most of the holy chalices lie deep within the tomb of the gods.
Also, underneath the city, there's another city of a dead civilization from another aeon that had the same problem of interference with outer gods, and then destroyed themselves. So the cycle repeats and repeats in this game.
Worshipped in the valley hamlet. Yet the town is in disarray. It was burned and abandoned.
Damn you, gone backstored them literally.
Home now only to beasts.
So this has got very hermetic.
Perfect place.
Underneath the city is a dead ruin of a civilization that's also connected to space.
One of the holy
and that's what the chalice is, which gives you access to the chalice dungeons, which is the civilization from the aeon before this.
Which button throws him out of that chair?
One of the holy
He is, if you don't get enough umbilical cords because of things get very bizarre and interesting. He is the last boss. He is, but then there's a boss beyond him, but yeah. So we got to go to a place where they decided to use for human experimentation and kill. And sorry, and the church went to a place and then burnt the entire place down after they gave a antidote to a poison that they created, because the antidote is the poison. And then they fucked up, so they just burnt the entire part of the city down. This game is very much, it's similar to when the CIA decided to spray a village in France with LSD and then claim it was ergot in the bread that made everybody hallucinate trees coming out of their fucking abdomens and shit. Yeah, that actually happened. They did that shit. None of this stuff is, though I assume everybody knows who watches my stuff. I'm gonna mute for 1 second.
Tattoos, but manually tore them off in a Jordanian prison. Damn you, gone backstored them literally. I bet he can walk. Which button throws him out of that chair? Umbilical cords. Is adrenochrome a stat buff? Ancient space-dwelling lizards. David Icke, end of chat.
Oh god, I'll stop in a minute. But here's
well, hello.
She's cool.
Splendid. Let me ask you a small kindness. You're soon off to hunt, I presume? Then, if you find any survivors, tell them to seek Yusefka's clinic. upon my Hippocratic oath. If they are yet human, I will look after them. Perhaps even cure them.
She will cure them,
This sickness, these beasts, they are not to be feared. This time the night is long. I may be trapped here, but I should do something to help. I'll even offer a reward for your cooperation.
Blow the oath.
Well, off you go then. If you find anyone, you can assure
How's
them.
Australia?
Do me this service.
It's shit.
If you find anyone who's still human, you can at least...
Okay, so I will jump off in a minute, but I appreciate everyone watching. I know this has definitely gone off the rails, but at least not in a way of being unsalvageable. It's been fun. I'll be continuing these, and I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Thank you for... Everybody has been so nice, and I appreciate that. It's been fun communicating directly, so yeah, I'll let you guys... Do you want me to let you guys know, like, in advance when I'm gonna do this a bit more?
Have a great night.
Oh. Alright. I'll see you all later. You guys, everyone take care.
Thank you, Interzone.
No problem. Thank you all for the fun and for watching and talking. I didn't realize my audience was so fucking cool.
Post or something.
I'll do that. I'll do that in advance. By
Yes, a heads up for the time of play is a great idea.
Cool. And this time seems to be quite good because everyone's in America or in Europe.
Real recognize real. Let us know.
Alright, I will. I'll be doing these quite often, so thank you very much, and I appreciate all the input. It's been fun in this interesting collective